I just don't know what to do with myself. So it's time for yoga. There come these moments in life. Sometimes people, after studying the Bhagavad Gita with me, talk about, oh, that's the Arjuna moment. It's this moment when the rules that we have relied upon and lived by up to that point are no longer vast, inclusive, enough for the task at hand. The rules that we've relied on are no longer adequate. They don't cut it for the situation we find ourselves in. And I just don't know what to do with myself, because the things I've relied on up to now, well, they've brought me to this place where I don't know what to do. So I can't rely on them anymore because they're just not up to it. So what to do? What to do indeed. This is the moment when yoga happens. When we don't know what to do with ourselves, then we're invited to look deeper. We're invited to muster the courage to actually stop, to resist the temptation to careen into action following the autopilot program that was installed long ago, but is no longer adequate, is no longer suitable, is no longer serving us. And so we're invited to stop. And it takes great courage to stop in this world that is accelerating, in this accelerated world that is constantly accelerating. And yoga asks us to be courageous. And one of the ways that we can be courageous in such a society is sometimes to slow down. Sometimes yogic discipline is described as a fire. Now, of course, when we think of doing something fire, we think of heating something up. But when we are running too quickly, putting the brakes on creates friction. That is its own heat of discipline. So sometimes when we don't know what to do with ourselves, one of the things that yoga suggests is that we do what we can to reclaim the center. If we're careening around on autopilot and we know it doesn't feel great, but what else can I do? We don't feel centered. So can we slow down? And can we pull ourselves together? There's this expression in English, pull yourself together. In other words, bring yourself into a state of yoga. Summon all the powers of your body, of your mind, of your emotions. Bring them all into a yoked, connected, integrated state. Pause. And in such a state, check in. Open your eyes and look inside. Look within. And what do we see? If we can muster the courage to resist the inertia of the previously established ways which are no longer adequate for the task at hand, and slow down and look within, it is altogether quite likely that new insights, new directives, new ideas, new perspectives will be seen and will emerge. And so when I get to that point where I just don't know what to do with myself, yoga says, heed the invitation. Anytime we don't know what to do, it's like a signpost. I need to start connecting, or I need to do the best I can to reconnect to the real center, to true north, to that part of myself that is accessed when I come into a state of congruence. And so in yoga there's this great emphasis on balance and centering. So can I invest my energy and attention in such a way that I'm building the temple or the house of my being on strong foundations? In other words, I'm not chasing after the ephemera that come and go. Rather, I'm diving into the deep, into that place that is most rooted, that is most earthed. And so as I cultivate the energy of yoga, of balance and integration, I do the best I can to earth the circuit of my being, to bring all the powers of my awareness into that state of congruence, balance and integration. A state that we could describe as a type of stillness or dynamic equilibrium. The orchestra of our being is tuned, or the instrument of our being, all its strings have been tuned now. And we pull ourselves together, we bring ourselves as best we can, honestly, faithfully, as best we can. We bring ourselves into a state of attunement or at-one-ment. And then we give ourselves the best chance possible to access new possibilities, to access a steadiness that will help us face with resilience and robustness the inevitable uncertainties of life, and respond more skillfully to the potentially troubling unknown. So when I do not know what to do with myself, no cause to get exasperated or flustered or downcast. Heed the invitation. The idea in yoga, nature is the guru. The guru literally means that which is heavy. So the guru can be seen as any person, place or thing, the influence of which is heavy duty enough to shake us out of one state of awareness into a vaster one. So when we're paying attention and we realize, I just don't know what to do with myself, maybe we actually do. But what our conscience is asking us to do is something that feels rather forbidding, is something that goes against the inertia of our pre-existing habits. But if we come to that place of robust, centered steadiness, we'll feel much more fortified, we'll feel much stronger to blaze that new trail, to carve a new niche, to pull ourselves out of the rut of the previously established, but perhaps now obsolete ways of being, onto a new track, a track that is really serving the deep longings of our heart, soul, and conscience. So if we come to that point, I just don't know what to do with myself, yoga says, see that and celebrate, and heed the invitation to come to a place of greater wholeness, of greater authenticity, where we're no longer so directed by obsolete autopilot patterns or by ways of operating that somehow we got adhered to when we weren't particularly conscious, when we weren't paying attention. Perhaps we were a small child and we reacted as best we possibly could in a particularly challenging situation with the resources that were available then. And it worked, we're still here. But that way of operating is no longer the optimal one. When we can find the courage to enact new ways of being, then we can reclaim more of our true capacity and come to know ourselves that little bit more. So when I just don't know what to do with myself, it's a great opportunity to actually come to know myself that little bit more. And this is the practice of yoga, steadily, with commitment and devotion, to keep fathoming the depths as best we can. So these moments of uncertainty, they are invitations. May we find the courage to heed them and work with them skillfully.